So a very big welcome today to Laurent Houdremont. I hope I've pronounced that right, Head of Food Solutions and Marketing at Sodexo in Hong Kong. So for those of you who are new to the Future Green podcast, we are talking to our members and asking them questions about what they're doing in sustainability. And we're really excited today to have Laurent here. I'm Heidi, and this podcast is all about food and sustainability. We want to hear from those who are doing amazing work in the region. So good morning, Laurent. Well, it's my morning. Is it your afternoon?
Hey, good morning, Heidi. So I'm currently in Hong Kong, so good afternoon on my end.
Great, and I can see your lovely logo in the background to remind people where you are. So just to kick off, let's just hear from you, Laurent, a bit more about yourself before we talk about the nitty-gritty of sustainability. How did you end up working in this role where sustainability is a big part of the work that you do?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Heidi, for having me today. So maybe a quick introduction about myself. I'm Laurent, based in Hong Kong, working for Sodexo, and I'm leading our sustainability efforts. For those who don't know about Sodexo, we are a global food and facility management company, and we provide, especially in Hong Kong, different types of services, such as corporate offices, international school, and also the airport lounges. We'll provide food service and also facility management services for them. So my role within Sodexo is to focus on aligning our local operation with our global sustainability commitments, particularly around climate action, health and well-being.
Well, that's a lot of work, very broad. So
Very
I'd
broad
really
indeed.
love to talk about the climate action piece in a moment. But you're based in Hong Kong now, and you were also working in Sodexo China before, right? So how is
That's
that
right, yes.
different in terms of sustainability? Is there more going on? Is it easier because I know it's more regulated there? How is it new in Hong Kong? How do you feel the differences if you had to compare?
Well, yeah, yes, that's right. So I've been with Sodexo for about 7 years, and prior to my time in Hong Kong, before 2022, I was based in Shanghai. So actually comparing Hong Kong to the mainland China, there's definitely some differences in the sense that Hong Kong, the scale is just, the geographic location is just much smaller. So it's much easier to implement some new initiatives on a wider scale within Hong Kong versus in the mainland, there are some big differences between North China, South China, and East China. So we operate in pretty much every regions within mainland China. So sometimes it's just challenging to have one solution which fits for all regions. Versus in Hong Kong, it's much easier to deploy project on a small basis. And there are a lot of sustainability players in the market which are able to support our vision and kind of goals for sustainability.
I'm glad you say that because I also feel in the last 5 or 6 years there's been a bigger push for sustainability in Hong Kong. So when we started
Definitely.
out in 2019, it was a very quiet space. But you've also touched a little bit about the different regions. So does it feel like Hong Kong is an easier place to kind of pilot new projects, would you say, to test new things like what you've been doing with carbon labeling of the menus?
Certainly, I feel that in Hong Kong, maybe the market is a bit more mature in terms of the sustainability aspect and sort of more international mindset of our consumers will expect to have the latest trends in terms of sustainability and as well as carbon labeling is something which is becoming more and more common across other regions within the maybe Americas and Europe. So definitely there's this expectation that Hong Kong as sort of world city has to implement similar initiatives. And I'll say for the China market and mainland is definitely they may have different systems which is more adapted to 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 the consumers within the mainland.
So let's hear a little bit more for people who don't know what carbon labeling on a menu is. it's a very clear way, just like we talked about the like calorie labeling or allergy labeling, where you have on the menu a little icon that explains if it's a high impact food or a low impact food in terms of the carbon emissions on it, and we do some calculations. And so we were working with you on this a couple of times this year, but what inspired you to get in touch about this, Laurent? Why did you think it was a good idea? Was it your clients that wanted it? Was it just some thought leadership from your side, from the Sodexo side? Like, what inspired Sodexo Hong Kong to introduce carbon labeling on the menus for certain clients?
So definitely for Sodexo, it's one of our main goals is to have a positive impact within any services we provide. So definitely carbon labeling was one of the strategy from our global group, which is meant to be rolled out across different regions. And it also aligns with our directive to reduce carbon emissions by actually 2025, the end of this year, within our food service. So having this tool of carbon labeling really compelled us to provide more information to our clients and consumers, helping them to make better informed choices and have a better understanding of what is carbon labeling and how they can have an impact to choosing different dishes on the overall carbon reduction.
So this has been really led by Sodexo then. It's not being requested by clients yet, or would you say it's a bit of both?
Definitely, I'll say it's a bit of both, depending on our clients, especially, let's say, for more international schools, which is one of our big catering sector. They have a lot of KPIs and a lot of directive in terms of sustainability projects to how to lower carbon emissions. So there was already some ongoing discussions about this, but as a company overall, this was a directive, and I'll say that Sodexo is pursuing. And so working closely together with our clients, we are now starting to launch this carbon labeling across different accounts.
It would be really great to follow up with you, Laurent, in a few months to see what the feedback is on these labels. And that reminds me of a project we did sort of collaborated on together with an international school in Hong Kong, with the Chinese international school. And you're right, they already had this on their radar, the idea that sustainability is critical. They also have a very comprehensive strategy for reducing emissions. So I suppose, would you say that those would be the clients that are more willing to test these kind of new concepts because they're already in the right headspace for it? And so when you bring this idea, they're already primed, I suppose, to say, yep, let's run with some carbon labeling ideas. This was in particular just talking about the Biodiversity Day that they run back in May, was it? How was that experience to encourage them to go further and label the menu and only do plant-based? What was that like?
So yeah, no, definitely. This was a great opportunity for us to showcase this carbon labeling during a biodiversity summit. And thank you to your team for having worked closely together with Sodexo and our chef to come up with these different menus and look at the carbon aspect of how many carbon is for different ingredients. Definitely, it was a great experience, not just for our chef team who got to learn more about carbon labeling, but also for the community as a whole, who may not have been, at least the consumer, they may not have had exposure to this in the past. And definitely it was very well received by them.
Oh, that's really good to hear. That's really good to hear. And as you say, everyone is involved. It's not just, the teacher leading it. The chef has to also start to think more creatively. Okay, I'm going to start using more increasing the plant-based ingredients, and learning more about the wonderful program, which is the Future 50 Foods, which I believe you use as a guide for leaning more into using plant-based ingredients. So I love that story because it just goes to show that if you try it, you can get the feedback and then you can start using it with more schools potentially and more other clients, because you also work with corporates too. And is it easy to interpret the data for your side in the current way that you're using this data? Like, do you look at the sales to help the businesses understand that it works, or would you say it's still quite early days working around how to measure the success, because clients always want to know, how are you measuring that this is actually working?
Sure. So I believe at this stage we are still in the early phases, where we are just about to launch this initiative on a wider scale, starting with our education business. And I'll say we have sort of a two-step approach, where in the beginning we're introducing the labels and also the story behind to the community, as they may not be familiar what is carbon labeling. So we believe it may take some time to kind of provide this education to our consumers. But long term, the idea is to sort of nudge the consumer to make better choices, and where they can make choices for themselves, and having the sustainability aspect in mind. So it's really a two-step approach, and we do see that long term, the goal is really to have the consumer to be choosing the more green labels over the others.
Yeah, but as you say, it's going to be a long-term process, isn't it, to educate and then influence. And people are very fussy about what they eat. It's a very sensitive topic, so we have to kind of ease them in gently. But the perception is that labeling is very complex, but in fact, as you've seen, you know, it's something you can turn around in 2-3 days, as long as you have the data to share about the locality of where the food is from, and portions, etc. So I'm really glad that you guys are trying this out in the region. So let's move on to a little bit about communication of sustainability, because you do some wonderful work. I was recently at one of the schools. Actually, my children, as you know, are at Kellett. Well, two of them are at Kellett School, and I was there for a graduation ceremony, and I went around and checked out the canteen while I was there, and it was so nice to see. There was so much signage around sustainability and what's in the kids' foods and the bins. I'll have to share that picture on this story, where they could see very clearly how much food waste there was on a daily basis. I thought that was great. You know, it's just very clear and very obvious, so that the kids, the students would at least have it on their mind that this is being measured. And data shows that in the research, it's really important to have these daily reminders of whatever the sustainability project you're working on. You'd really need to remind people every day, because we want it to be normal to reduce waste, to not have waste. So yeah, how did that come about? It was a lot of work. It seems like it's not just about the waste. You had signage around the local milk you were using, and then of course the sustainable ingredients with the Future 50. Yeah, tell us a bit more about that project.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for these compliments. Definitely in Hong Kong, I think one thing we are lucky with is that in terms of the scale and collaboration with our clients, everyone is very keen on sustainability. So we have a lot of opportunity to deploy a lot of sustainability initiative. So actually in the past year, we have transitioned, for example, all of our eggs, they are cage-free now. So this is, for example, one aspect where we kind of target animal welfare, and also we are working with some organization who provide sustainable seafood. On another note, kind of going local, we are working with a farm which is located in Yuen Long, and they are producing some organic produce for us. So actually, in some of our accounts, we are using this produce, and very well received by the community, and it kind of ties into promoting local farms working together with Sodexo. And as well, in addition of this, we also have the honey, which is a byproduct of the growing process of the farm. And yeah, you mentioned about the milk. Actually, we have launched, or we are using some milk which is made in Hong Kong. So that's quite rare compared to other catering companies. They may not have that. And overall, in terms of sustainability, we always looking in the market, what are the latest trends and how can we deploy this on an actionable basis within our clients. So it tackles from any aspect which can be front of house, such as, for example, the plate waste, all the way to the back of house, which is using sustainable packaging for our equipment and also having some lower energy consumption. So we really try to look at every aspect of our business and see how can we make it more sustainable.
Yeah, you really touched on an important point there, Laurent, that there's so many aspects. It's not just about the ingredients that you're sourcing, it's also about, on an operational level, how you can reduce emissions and save on packaging. I remember when we shared our 2-page matrix, you were saying that it's quite helpful to see everything that is relevant for in terms of sustainability for a food service business on 2 pages. How have you used that? Are you still using it? Is that helpful? Could you talk about the 2-page food vision grid a little bit? Was it something that you've not used anymore?
Yeah, no, that definitely we do. And I think what I like about this document is that it's very visual and very comprehensive. And it helps not just my department, but also, I believe, pretty much all the departments within our company, they can refer to this document, and there are some elements which will speak to them. So from a supply chain perspective, it helps them to look into which vendors can be chosen over others, following some sustainability metrics, and also our operation team. It gives them a better understanding in which area they can really focus and bring sustainability to light.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's been great to having this document. It's kind of like a pillar of the sustainability, which we are implementing or trying to implement within Hong Kong.
I'm so glad that you're using it. We'll put a link to it at the bottom of this in case anyone wants to use it at the bottom of the podcast or the show notes. That's fantastic. And I want to compliment you really on the local milk, because I didn't even know that it was possible to get local milk in Hong Kong on an industrial level. So I think it's pretty yeah, it's fantastic that you're always looking for interesting suppliers. And I remember there was a picture I saw somewhere as well, maybe it was on one of your posters, about the honey, the beekeepers. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really big compliments. So looking ahead, Laurent, what do you think? Is there anything you can share about what your plans are in the coming school year? Any new projects you're working on, or menu innovation?
Yes, no, so definitely. We are constantly working with our chef team for both our segments, I mean corporate, schools, and also aviation, to find ways how to implement more sustainability ingredients or sustainable ingredients within our menus. So last year we did start to deploy Future 50 Foods, which is a collection of 50 ingredients which are using or which are following sustainable metrics in terms of growing and are also healthy for your body. So in addition of this, with the carbon labeling, we really believe that that tool will help us to really enable to showcase what is happening in sort of the back end during the menu design. And by showing these carbon labels within our menu, we believe that it will help to long-term make an impact to the community. And it's really a great tool to showcase what Sodexo is doing.
Yeah, I think there's such a good run that you can take with the Future 50 Foods. Even though it was published quite a few years ago with WWF, I feel like there's so much opportunity to learn through that, and it's beautifully designed as well. I really love that the ingredients are not just, as you say, good for nutrition, but they grow. For example, fonio and teff, some of those grains, they grow in really arid conditions, and with climate change and unpredictable weather patterns, these grains are wonderful because they don't necessarily need a lot of water, and they grow in, as I said, unpredictable conditions. So I really can't emphasize enough that the Future 50 is a wonderful guide for people looking to increase their shift to a more sustainable way of sourcing. And are you finding it relatively easy in Hong Kong to get a hold of these ingredients, or is it quite a challenge because it's relatively new to the audience?
Yeah, no, I believe in Hong Kong we're quite blessed in the sense that there's a big variety of ingredients, which on the contrary in the mainland China may be a bit tricky. So we do have access to to most of these ingredients. I believe maybe one concern is sometimes the price point. There may be some price concerns. However, we are working to have a balance between the sustainability, the price, and also the nutrition, of course, as we never compromise on taste and nutrition.
Yeah.
So it's really finding those substitutes and also optimizing maybe the portion size and sourcing locally, which help us to, at the end of the day, create a sustainable meal.
And you've really touched on an important point on localizing there, because I see a lot of companies your size, when they try to implement the sustainability strategy, the global strategy or the regional strategy, Hong Kong is so different, isn't it, as a market? What do you think why do we have to localize the global strategy? Why can you not just take an international sustainability strategy in your mind? Why is it important to localize it?
Mhm. So yes, I mean, good question. Definitely, I believe from a aspect of having big directive coming from our global team, we certainly align on this directive, but some of the implementation is just different from a Western to an Asian culture, so we have to localize it. Having said previously, the lucky thing in Hong Kong is that we are able to access a lot of ingredients. However, on another aspect is having this mix between Western and Asian dishes. Some of these global standards, they may not apply to Hong Kong. So definitely there's a need to localize, as at the end of the day, we want to provide meals which is suitable to our audience.
Yeah, and I've also heard from previous restaurant owners that when they run a Chinese restaurant, they have to have two chefs for a particular kitchen, whereas in a Western they might have
Exactly.
just one, because of the complexity of the
Hmm.
ingredients in a Chinese dish. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of thought there that you need to extra work potentially. So localizing the strategies are important. Fantastic. Well, I think that's great. This has been really interesting, especially hearing a lot about the carbon labeling. I really hope you have success with that, because I do think it's a
Thank
wonderful
you. Thank you.
way, just a wonderful way to get people aware of the carbon emissions in the food
Hmm.
supply,
Definitely.
without
And
being too kind of, yeah, preachy. I think it's a nice sort of
mhm.
soft touch, isn't it?
So I believe definitely happy to have a follow-up call in the future where we actually have the raw data then to be able to further develop or elaborate on these aspects. But we're
Yeah.
very excited to sort of deploy this on a wider scale and just integrate this sustainability aspect into everyday dining experiences.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it. I do hope it's successful, but I think you're doing it well. Start with the schools where there's a lot of
Hmm.
already buy-in, let's say, and then move to the adults later.
Certainly, certainly.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Laurent. Shall we leave it
Great.
there? And
Yeah, yeah,
thank you
sure.
for being here with me today. And we'll
Thank
share
you. Thank you.
we'll share more with our audience about the wonderful work you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Heidi. Goodbye,
Thanks,
guys.
Laurent.